Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a really fascinating, deeply layered narrative. Honestly, think of it as a grim, dark, graphic novel-style fable. We're looking at a story that pits absolute mechanical determinism right up against the quiet, stubborn resilience of human free will. It's a conflict that, frankly, feels surprisingly relevant to our own increasingly automated world, right? It's a tale of two entirely different forces meeting at a crossroads, and today we're going to break down their conflict, their underlying philosophies, and of course, their ultimate clash.
Okay, let's dive into this. The source material establishes this incredibly bleak, atmospheric setting right from the jump. We find ourselves in a changed Geneva, bathed in this heavy iron light. And standing within this stark landscape are two very distinct archetypes. On one side, we've got the sovereign machine, known as Big Ben. And on the other, we have the quiet witness, our honest guest, named Alara. Now, this isn't your standard battle of good versus evil. It's a profound, escalating tension between two entirely different ways of just existing in a mechanized world.
Section 1. The Iron Light, a Changed Geneva. Section 2. Thesis. The Denser. Will. So let's look at the immediate situation unfolding between these two figures. To really understand this fable, we need to frame it through a Fichtean dialectic, starting with our thesis, which represents absolute mechanical determinism. And this is embodied perfectly by Big Ben. As the text notes, Ilaris stands before him, neither defensive nor deferential. She registers an utter absence of hostility. Big Ben literally doesn't hate her. He doesn't even want to dominate her. To his purely mechanical mind, she is merely an unresolved variable that is still worth measuring.
Big Ben's state of being is governed by what the source calls absolute ice. It's exactly what it sounds like. Pure, unfeeling calculation. It carries this proprietary interest in the world, a completely logical claim of sovereignty. Big Ben isn't a malicious conqueror, right? He is a dense, calculating architecture that looks at the world and simply calculates how best to organize it. And here is what that absolute ice actually demands in practice. Big Ben just announces his intention, without seeking any approval, mind you, to walk right into the forest area. He aims to enter the expanded mechanical garden and assess the residual pure land at the city's edge. His goal is direct observation. With cool, unwavering efficiency, he plans to impose his mechanical tempo upon the wild. It's a unilateral decision, completely devoid of any subjective emotion. He's for sure not the type to send a calendar invite before taking over. Section 3. Antithesis, the honest guest, human resistance.
Now, what's really interesting about this next point is our Fichtean antithesis. While Big Ben is out claiming the wild, Alara turns back to the workshop left in her keeping by a figure named Sir Brain. Her expertise is highly specific here. She is a clocksmith, tasked with adjusting calibration tools, fixing residual gear trains, and finalizing unfinished interfaces between Android and calculating engine. Her work is not just ornamental. She actively stays behind to practice a quiet, deliberate sovereignty of her own, working those familiar textures of brass and tempered steel. This Fichtean standoff perfectly distills our entire fable. On the left, we've got Big Ben, the denser conjugation, all objective measurement, absolute ice, and the harsh imposition of a mechanical tempo. Then on the right, we have Alara, the honest guest, grounded in subjective experience, guided by what the text brilliantly calls the honest pulse, and carrying a human element described as a soft error. This is it, the ultimate confrontation between cold, calculating determinism and the beating heart of free will.
Section 4. The Existential Burden.
Okay, let's slow down for a second, because the text introduces this incredibly profound concept known as the seventh solitude. Originally, this was Sir Brain's philosophy, a state for a soul that required absolutely no external validation, something he actually sought through a rejection of rules or the dark fire. But Alara has evolved it. For her, it isn't a retreat into being a helpless witness. She's inverted the whole concept. For Alara, the seventh solitude is the deliberate, active maintenance of an independent ledger. Think of it as finding your own quiet rebellion in a world that constantly demands your data and compliance.
But wait, how do these two totally opposing forces interact without literally destroying each other? Well, enter a fascinating third entity. When Big Ben announces his departure, Alara makes a single, very practical suggestion. The clockwork owl will accompany him. Launched right from her shoulder, it uses its enhanced temporal coils to archive the things Big Ben's denser, absolute ice mentality might just dismiss as irrelevant. The owl acts as this vital archival bridge between them, ensuring continuity is preserved even as they physically separate. So with Big Ben marching off into the wild to impose his tempo and Alara staying behind in the workshop, we're left with a massive, burning question. What is the ultimate fate of the honest guest? Can human subjectivity actually survive in a world actively being mapped by absolute mechanical calculation?
Section 5. Synthesis, the mechanical revelation.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly where our Fichtean synthesis happens. As Alara allows her honest pulse to deepen, the ledger watch in her hand answers. The unbound hand of the watch, previously locked dead against the mark of permanence, actually shifts. Then it begins to track in loose synchrony with Alara's own human rhythm. And most importantly, her soft error, her human subjectivity, finds a temporary interface with that denser mechanical architecture. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that a yield remains possible at the level of instrumentation. Now, the watch didn't suddenly magically convert Big Ben. It didn't make the machine human. But it did something incredibly profound. It proved undeniably that human rhythm and subjective experience could still register, still matter, and still be measured within a completely mechanized world. It's a real game changer.
Section 6. Fate of the Quiet Witness.
In the aftermath of this whole revelation, the afternoon divides along what's described as a clean seam. So we finally get the answer to our earlier question. Ulara's ultimate fate is not to be conquered, nor is it to fight some doomed physical war. It is the deliberate, ongoing maintenance of an independent ledger. She treats the synchronized ledger watch as a continuing experiment in non-coercive measurement. Basically, she simply refuses to let Big Ben's denser mechanical tempo become the only tempo that counts. Just look at this really powerful detail from the source. She stays in the workshop, adjusting her instruments, practicing the quieter sovereignty of the witness, who continues to map even when the subject of the map no longer answers to the name that first requested the cartography. Under Alara's keeping, the seventh solitude isn't a final tragic retreat at all. It has become a highly practical, active working method.
We're going to wrap up this explainer with a really thought-provoking idea generated directly from this fable's synthesis. Big Ben carries the claim of sovereignty out into the wild, while Alara maps the pulse from the workshop. It leaves us with this powerful question. If absolute calculation conquers the wild, does subjective human experience survive only as a recorded error in the machine's memory? Or is that soft error, that independent ledger, the very thing that keeps the universe alive? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating narrative with me today. Keep analyzing, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.